Hello everyone, my name is Rachada and I'm going to talk about the work that I presented in ASPLOS 2018 in this video. This work is called Redesigning the GPU memory hierarchy to support multi-application concurrency. And before I begin, let me quickly go over the overview of this talk. When you apply app address translation in order to support multi-application concurrency, what we found is address translation overheads limit the GPU latency hiding capability because of two reasons. First, there's a high contention at the shared TOB. Second, there's a low L2 cache utilization. And both of these problems lead to a large performance loss versus no address translation on GPUs. So the key idea of our work is to prioritize address translation requests over data requests. And in order to do that, we come up with a solution called MAX, which is a GPU memory hierarchy that reduces shared TOB contention, improves L2 cache utilization, as well as reduce page walk latency. And we found that MAX is able to improve system throughput by 57.8% on average over the state-of-the-art address translation mechanism on GPUs. And now I'll go into the background materials, key challenges, and our goal. First, let me begin by explaining why do you want to share discrete GPUs. When you share discrete GPUs among multiple applications, this allows them to run concurrently and better utilizing resources. Because when you're running an application alone, oftentimes they cannot utilize an entire GPU because different applications have different compute and bandwidth demand. So letting them running concurrently allows them to utilize every single resource that GPU is available. On top of this also enables GPU sharing in the cloud where multiple users can spatially share each GPU. However, there's one key requirement, which is you need fine-grained memory protection for all the applications. In order to provide memory protection, state-of-the-art modern GPU designs provide address translation in order to translate virtual address into a physical address. In this example, I have 4 GPU cores that are running 2 applications, the purple application and the green applications. With the state-of-the-art designs, there will be a private translation lookalike buffer as well as a shared translation lookalike buffer, both of which would cache translation data in order to prevent the number of page walk that the page walker has to perform in order to translate the virtual address into a physical address. But because GPU is a vector machine, where a bunch of threads are grouped together into a unit called warp as shown here, are executed together in one cycle. So what can happen is, data in a page can be shared by many threads. And what we found is in many cases, all threads access the same page at the same time. So what you can see here is the GPU are likely to stall because of only one single TOB mess as shown here. And this can happen throughout all the GPU cores that are executing these certain applications. And because GPU can switch to another warp and keep executing, GPU's own parallelism can create parallel page walk that can further stall other GPU cores that are executing. As you can see here, all the 4 GPU cores are now stalling because of the number of TOB misses that has to be resolved. So let's see what's the effects of address translation on GPU performance. On this plot here, I show the normal performance of GPU applications. In this green bar, I show the ideal baseline where every single TOB access is a TOB hit. In this yellow baseline, I show the performance of the shared TOB, which is a design that utilizes shared TOB in order to cache any partial translation data. And on this red bar, I show another alternative baseline which utilizes the page walk cache in order to cache any partial translation data. And as you can see here, both the shared TOB and the page walk cache suffer large performance degradations. And on average, we found that it's up to 37.4% performance degradations comparing to the ideal case. So we will be able to answer what caused this large performance loss. And the first problem we found is there's a lot of contention at the shared TOB when multiple GPU applications contend for this shared TOB. On this plot here, I showed an L2 TOB miss rate, where lower is better comparing when the application is running alone on as shown in this blue bar here. And if you compare the TLB miss rate to the case when these pair of applications are actually executing concurrently and sharing the shared TLB, as you can see on these red bars, we found that there's a significant number of TLB miss increase on all the application pairs. So we conclude that contention at the shared TLB leads to lower performance. The second problem is we found there's a lot of thrashing at the L2 cache. So even though any partial translation data can be cached in the L2 data cache, however, we found there are two sources of thrashing that happen at the L2 cache. The first source is there's a parallel page walk that happens, so different address translation data can evict each other. The second source of thrashing is because of GPU's own memory intensity, which means that demand fetch data or normal data can evict address translation data easily. So we found that the L2 cache in GPU is ineffective at reducing page walk latency. Lastly, as opposed to the normal GPU memory request, we found that address translation is much more latency sensitive to normal data requests because the first thing we saw is multiple warps can share data from a single page. So on this plot here, I show the number of warps being installed per only one single TLB miss across all the applications we evaluated, including the average bar on the rightmost axis here. And as you can see on this plot, a single TLB miss can cause on average 8 warps that are being installed on one single GPU core. On top of this, GPU's own parallelism can cause multiple concurrent page walks. So as you can see on this y-axis, I show the number of concurrent page walks across all the applications we evaluated, including the average bar. And as you can see here, there are multiple instances that there can be more than 20 concurrent TLB misses that happen at the same time. So we found that high address translation latency can lead to many more stalled warps, and in the end, that would degrade the GPU performance. So our goal in this work is to first reduce the shared TLB contention. The second goal is we would like to be able to improve the L2 cache utilization. And lastly, we want to be able to lower the page walk latency. And in order to achieve these goals, we come up with a design called MASK, which is a translation-aware memory hierarchy design. And MASK consists of 3 components. I'm now going to explain the first component, which is called the TLB field tokens, which is designed to reduce the shared TLB contention. And the goal of the TLB field tokens is to hand out tokens to warps that are executing on a GPU in order to limit the number of warps that can fill into the shared TLB. A warp with a token can fill into the shared TLB, but a warp with no tokens will fill into a separate bypass cache. And the number of tokens can change based on the TLB miss rate, which is updated every epoch. And tokens are assigned based on warp ID, and you can find more details in our full paper. So the benefit of the TLB field token is we can limit contention at the shared TLB and can effectively increase the TLB hit rate. The second component of MASK is called the translation-aware L2 bypass, which is designed to improve the L2 cache utilization. And in order to design the translation-aware L2 bypass mechanism, we first look at how L2 hit rate behaves with different page walk level. On this bar I show on the x-axis the L2 cache hit rate of multiple page walk level. Over here in the blue bar I show the page table level 1, which is the level the closest to the root. And in this green bar I show the L2 hit rate of the page walk level 2. And on this yellow bar, I show the hit rate of the page table walk level 3. And on the red bar, I show the hit rate of the level 4 page walk. And as you can see, the hit rate of page walk are decreasing the deeper the page walk level goes. So we found that many translation data doesn't really benefit from using the L2 cache. So what we need to do is we only need to cache address translation data with high hit rate. In order to do this, the translation-aware L2 bypass would look at the average L2 cache hit rate, and if there's any access that want to probe the L2 cache and have a hit rate that is higher than the average L2 cache hit rate, these requests will be cached in the L2 cache. But for any request that has an average hit rate that are lower than the average L2 cache hit rate, these requests would be bypassed and will be sent directly to the main memory. This provides two benefits. First, the benefit is you get a better L2 cache utilization for translation data. The second benefit is because probing the L2 cache in the GPU actually incurs much higher latency compared to probing an L2 cache inside the CPU. So when you bypass requests that are not likely to benefit from the cache, then you don't have to suffer the L2 queuing delay. And the last component of MASK is called the Addressspace Aware Memory Scheduler, which aims to lower the page walk latency. And the major problem we found at the main memory app is that address translation requests are treated similarly to data demand requests, even though if you look at the bandwidth consumption of address translation requests versus the data demand request, which is shown on the plot here on the y-axis. I show the DRAM bandwidth consumption of the address translation request in the blue bar as opposed to the data demand request on the red bar. And as you can see here, data demands consume much higher bandwidth than address translation requests on average. But if you look at the DRAM latency suffered by the address translation request, you can see here on the y-axis in this plot is that these translation requests actually suffer higher memory access latency compared to normal data demand requests. So the idea is we need to be able to lower this address translation request latency. And so the idea is to always prioritize address translation requests over data demand requests. And this can be done cheaply by splitting the memory request buffer into two separate buffers. The first buffer is called the golden queue, which only contains address translation requests. The second buffer is called the normal queue, which contains other data demand requests. And as you can see here, because the priority of the golden queue is higher than normal queue, any request that are accessing address translation data would be prioritized over normal data requests. However, as you can see here, there's another separate problem where you have multiple applications, as are shown here, red, yellow, and blue applications. And as you can see here, the blue applications sometimes are not being able to inject into the normal queue, and as a result, sometimes they get deprioritized. In order to resolve this issue, we improve the quality of service by utilizing another queue, which is called a silver queue. And the silver queue has higher priority than the normal queue. But each application would have to take turns injecting into a silver queue. As a result, we can guarantee that every single application will get a chance to be in higher priority than other applications and preventing unfairness. And now to explain our components of MARKS, let me recap quickly. MARKS is a translation-aware memory hierarchy design that consists of three components. The first component is called the TLB field tokens that are designed to reduce shared TLB contention. The second component is called translation-aware L2 bypass that's designed to improve the L2 cache utilization. And the last component is called the Addressspace Aware Memory Scheduler that is designed to lower the page walk latency. And now I'll go over the evaluation of MARKS. We perform our simulation using the Mosaic simulation platform that's based on GPQSim and Mafia. We model page walk and virtual to physical mapping. Our evaluation models the NVIDIA GTX 750 Ti that are running two GPU applications that execute concurrently. We evaluate benchmarks from CUDA, SDK, Rodinia, Parboil, Roulette, and Shop Suite, and we form workloads that are into three different workload categories based on the TLB miss rate. We compare Mosaic to two state-of-the-art CPU memory management design. The first design is called page walk cache or PW cache in the plot. With this particular design utilizes page walk cache to cache any partial translation data. The second design we compare to is called shared TOB design, which utilizes the shared TOB in order to cache translation data and prevent the number of page walks that has to be done. Lastly, we compare to the ideal baseline where every single TOB access is an L1 TOB hit. In terms of performance, on the y-axis, I show the normal performance across the different workload categories, including the average as shown on the x-axis. On the red bar, I show the performance of the page walk cache. On the yellow bar, I show the performance of the shared TOB. And on the blue bars, I show the performance of max. And as you can see here, max is able to outperform the page walk cache and the shared TOB designs across all three workload categories. And on average, max is able to outperform the shared TOB design by 57.8%. And as you can see here on the comparing to the green bar, which is the ideal baseline, max is able to perform much closer to the ideal baseline compared to the two previous state-of-the-art designs. We also found that max outperforms state-of-the-art designs for every single workload. In the paper, we also provide additional results, including showing that max reduces unfairness. We provide the results on all three components of max and show that each individual components are effective. We provide sensitive analysis over multiple GPU architecture, including the CPU-GPU heterogeneous systems. We provide sensitive analysis to different TOB sizes and show that max is able to improve performance of our evaluated size. We provide a performance improvement over different memory scheduling policies and show that max improves performance over other state-of-the-art memory scheduler. So to conclude, we found that address translation overhead limit the latency of hiding capability of GPUs because of two reasons. First, there's a high contention at the shared TOB. Second, low L2 cache utilization. And both of these reasons lead to large performance loss versus the case where GPU doesn't have to provide address translation. So the key idea is to prioritize address translation requests over data requests. And in order to do that, we come up with a solution called MAX, which is a translation-aware GPU memory hierarchy design that consists of three components. The first component is called TOB field tokens that aims to reduce the shared TOB contention. The second component is called translation-aware L2 bypass that aims to improve L2 cache utilization. And the last component is called Addressspace-aware memory scheduler that aims to reduce page walk latency. Through our evaluation, we found that MAX improves system throughput by 57.8% on average over the state-of-the-art address translation mechanism. Thank you.